All right. So, first off, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
Um, just I met Wally. How long ago did I meet you? About what? 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago. It seems like.
Oh man, it's been a yeah. I remember it was at when was the first time we met? Was it at your mom's new house or the
It
old
was
one?
at it was at it was at Jan's new house.
Yeah,
It
when
was
she had the housewarming party, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's been a while ago.
That's been a while. Yeah. Wow.
Damn. So yeah, that's and then we got to talking about somehow or another, because there's not very many of us, we started talking about Desert Storm. How the hell I mean, that's a pretty small world because there was less than a million of us over there.
Right. Right.
And we started talking about that. And it's just like, that's basically one of those things to where we've been kind of off and on communicating for a long time now since
Right.
then.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, you would think that but you know what? The more I look into it, the more I see it. I see a lot of Desert Storm folks
Yeah.
that were, but I asked them where they were at, and most of them were there after I had gone home. After the actual war was over,
Right.
they still
Okay.
call themselves Desert Storm vets, but it was actually the Overwatch after we had come home, and they were there in between the gap between when it ended in what, May, and and like August to September. I know I came home in May.
Yeah. We came back in April.
April.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
maybe it was March I came back. Maybe it was March. Anyway, I was there for like 7 months because I was there in August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So it was March.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We were there 8. Yeah.
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 So, I want to get into a little bit. Why did you go in the military? What was the reason for you?
Sorry about that.
Hey, I don't
But
care, but we got a cat floating around here too, so don't feel bad.
yeah.
And like I said, I doubt if you'll photobomb us, but anyway.
Yeah.
But
Reason I went in is because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Because when I signed up, I was still in high school. It was just ending my senior year, and I knew I was done with school, and I didn't want to be in school anymore. You know, but I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and I thought I'd use going in the military as trying to help me figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
so you were what, 17 or 18?
I was 18 when I graduated. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still were trying to figure out what you wanted to be when you grow up.
Yep. Yep.
Man,
And
it took me about 40 years to figure that out.
right. Pretty much, same here too. Because even after I went in, I knew a good trade, but then nobody was. I was hard to find a job doing
Yeah.
that. What you did in the military, so had to try to figure out. Just find a job and figure it out from there after I got out. But um, yeah, I went in to try to figure out what I want to do with my life, and because I had no clue. I had people tell me you should go to community college and go to school, and I was like, I'm done with school. I don't want to go to school right now. And I just graduated high school, and I want to take a break from school. And
Well, you went to school, just a different kind of school.
right, yeah, exactly. I did go to school because you went to boot camp and you're learning how to do everything all over again, and then you go to MOS school and you're learning your MOS specialty, and yeah, basically I did go to school. Yeah, and it was like crash course.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I've always wanted to ask you, and I never really found the right time, but now's the right time. Why the Marines?
Why the Marines? Well, I went the Marines because they seemed they both motivated. As I was a young kid, and just their attitudes and how they looked and everything is what kind of swayed me towards them. I went and talked to the Air Force, and they were like, they really didn't want anything to do with me.
Really?
And yeah, and the Navy, he was like, we can, yeah, we can sign you up here, but he wasn't very motivated. And I didn't even talk to the Army guys, but and I talked mostly with the Marines. And actually, when I was 16 and sophomore in high school, was my first time that I talked to a recruiter from the Marines. They called me on the phone at home, and when I got off of school one day, and I went down and talked to him like a couple of days later, and that's when I started first talking to the Marines. It was like sophomore in high school, and
So they hooked you early.
yeah, they did. And then during my senior year is when they first started like having me come and do a weekend stuff where they had a whole bunch of people that were going in and they were doing short runs. This cat just won't leave me alone, and
That's all
doing
right.
short runs and okay, you gotta get down. But and starting to teach you terminology and like history of the Marine Corps and all that stuff that you learn a lot when you're in boot camp. And so it's kind of like an early exposure to what you're going to be doing at boot camp.
Early brainwashing.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because it's funny,
Yeah.
even now, I'm 53 years old now, and I still remember the stuff I did in the Marines like it was yesterday.
Well, that stuff doesn't wear off.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter how long you're in, whether you're in for 4 years or whether you're in for 2 years or whether, because I know people that were drafted in the Army and
yeah,
went to Vietnam, and they were in for, one guy I was talking to was in for less than 2 years. He did a tour in Vietnam. He was drafted, he went to boot camp, he went to combat school, he went to Vietnam, and he came back and they said, "Do you want to get out?" He said yes, and he got out. So he
wow,
was in for only 18 months.
wow, that's quick,
Yeah, but he still carries a lot of the military stuff around.
right?
We don't realize how much of that is ingrained in us.
Yeah,
We carry it with us for the rest of our lives.
right.
And
Yeah,
we
totally.
don't realize it till we get to dealing with civilians and going, what the hell are they doing? Why are they acting this way? Why are they being
Yeah,
this way?
yeah,
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do what I'm doing now. That's one of the reasons why I started this after duty thing. It's
right.
because we don't realize how much our time in the military
Yeah,
affected us. I still carry a lot of crap now with me, even though I'm Air Force. I'm the weenie branch of the military, and I know that, and I
yeah.
realize that. But I will say that most of my clients are Marines.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, so I mean, that's kind of funny how that happened.
Yeah.
Um, so your thought process in this whole thing. So you basically was like, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, so I'm going to go
Right.
into the Corps and figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
And
And I was even real close to re-enlisting again. Before I got out, and
yeah,
um, but I decided not to. And it's in some ways I wish I would have, because it was kind of hard to find a decent job when I got out. And if I would have stayed in, I would have stayed with the same MOS, and you know built up points and stuff to go up in rank and all that. But it was kind of like my high school thing. I was done, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then after being at Desert Storm and over there for 8 months, I was like, I'm ready to get out. you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we all have our reasons for going in, and that's why I wanted to, to do this little thing, is because I wanted to take people back and to talk about, and for them to think about why they went in. What was the reason why they went in?
Yeah.
Did it help them? Did it hurt them? Did it, just make them think about why?
Right.
Because we all have our own, I have a totally different story. I went in because I was married and had a kid that had heart trouble,
Wow.
and there was an insurance company in the world that would touch him. So I went into the Air Force for the
Right.
benefits.
Wow.
So my son could have medical
Right.
insurance.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
and we all go in for our own reasons,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep. Yep.
and sometimes it's like, the people that say that, it's sort of, being a patriot and wanting to, that's true. That is to a point, but usually it's an underlying reason why. It's not that you want to fight for your country. There's usually an underlying reason for it too.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that's what I want to, that's one of the things I want people to think about, is why you went in and how it's affected you through the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, it, helped shape who I am
yeah,
today.
yeah. It still bothers you when people are late.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh God.
I hate it when I'm late.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I get my anxiety's off the chart when I think I'm gonna be late for something. My anxiety's off the chart. That's
Yeah.
still something that bugs me. You
Yeah.
know, and I mean, when you're working somewhere and you got all these people that are basically on their own time,
Yeah.
that's when it gets irritating too.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of, to me the military told me basically it's kind of disrespectful, when
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's, I mean, I did a one of the things me and Dr. Cat did a thing, a training, and this woman's been married for like 25 years, and we talked about, and he was a Vietnam guy, and we were talking about why, but being late and how it anxiety and how it causes us to be anxious and stuff. And she got us after the training, and she's like, so that's why my husband's the way he is. I never understood that. She said, because he would be off his rocker until we got in the car and was driving away, and then he calmed down. You know, so it's
Right. Yeah.
again, it goes back to how we were brought up in the military. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yep. It's like I'm out. I try to be 5 or 10 minutes early, and sometimes I'm earlier than that, but then I realize, sometimes when you go into somebody's house for a party or something and you're 20 minutes early, sometimes that's kind of rude to them because they're still trying to get things ready. So I try not to be too early, but I still try to be on time.
Well, there's a thing I tell people about PTSD, about PTSD and that.
Yeah,
I tell people all the time, if you're going to be in social situations, because you can come early, and if
yeah,
they're still setting up, you can go help them set up. And if they
right,
get pissed off,
yeah,
then oh well. But it's one of those things where folks with PTSD, and I'm not going to get into the whole antics of PTSD and whether you have it or not. That's really irrelevant. But part of it has to do with people who have PTSD. A lot of times, getting there early helps them because there's nobody there. And that's how I deal with people with PTSD all the time. They say, I want to go to ball games. I want to go to my kids' soccer games. I want to go here. I want to go there. And I can't. And I'm
right,
like, okay, here's what you do. A strategy for that is you go early and there's nobody there. There's very few people there.
yeah,
You can assess it. You can assess the
yeah,
situation and you can keep assessing the situation as people come in. They keep
right,
coming in. They come in. As more and more people come in, you can assess it. You can, because it's all about threat assessment. That's all PTSD is about.
right,
So, you know, they're coming in, and the next thing you know, the place is full and you've already assessed everything. So you're good.
yeah. And then people trickled in. It wasn't like when
Right.
you go in and everybody's there.
Yeah, right. You walk in and
Right.
just like
Yeah,
boom,
yeah,
all this confronts you at one time because that is emotionally exhausting trying to deal with walking into that.
right, right. That makes a lot of sense.
And that's one of the strategies that I tell people for PTSD is to how to deal with that. But that's another conversation.
Right.
So so what I have a theory.
Okay.
I've actually written about how boot camp can cause PTSD. I have a theory that boot camp can cause PTSD.
Yeah.
What was your experience like at boot camp?
um. Well, with our first week, we're processing in, right, and we have temporary drill instructors, and they're just getting us around, taking us places, and getting everything ready. And then when we get our introduced to our permanent drill instructors, after they get all introduced, then the chief drill instructor said, "Okay, drill instructors, make these men Marines," and it was like all hell broke loose. They were running around and throwing people in the bathroom and beating the crap out of people,
Are you saying they were hazing back then?
and they were running around tossing over the bunks and footlockers and everything, right? And you were just like, what the hell is going on, right? And yeah, and just the constant yelling at you, like during first phase mostly, and trying, getting you to change how you think, and you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it was some people, man, it really they had a hard time with it. Like we had one, and second phase, we got a guy in. All right, sorry, third phase at the beginning. That was 2 months in. We got a guy in that had been on strength training platoon. He had been there for almost 6 months,
Hmm.
and they were trying to get his strength up because he couldn't do any pull-ups or anything. And whatever they were doing wasn't helping him because he still couldn't do any pull-ups. And he was constantly they were doing physical training with him, like being called up for doing push-ups or mountain climbers or anything like that, and all the time during the day. And he he still couldn't. When we were getting ready to graduate, he couldn't do any pull-ups, so they processed him out. Other than an honorable discharge,
Wow.
and yeah,
Yeah, the Marines are pretty hardcore when it comes to that stuff.
yeah,
They're, and I dealt with people all the time who have struggled in the Corps and they've gotten out, and they got other than honorable. The Marine Corps does not want to upgrade their discharges.
yeah,
They have a hell of a time getting their discharges upgraded
right,
from, I mean, and it's just like, damn, the Corps is really, really difficult about that. The Corps is really hard about doing that, you
yeah.
know.
And I mean, just this guy, he was really quiet
Mhm.
and try to do everything he was told to do, but was really quiet and didn't talk to anybody else. And I just wonder how much of him being in boot camp for 6 months, how that affected him like for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did that make you wonder about how you were going to be treated once you got out of boot camp?
Um, man, when we graduated boot camp, we were just like so happy and was wondering what was going to happen what was going to be like when we went to MOS school,
Yeah, yeah. So
And
now it's like, okay, you're learning to get into the real world. So I got one question I meant to ask you earlier before we started talking about boot camp. You're West Coast or East Coast Marine?
West Coast,
Okay.
Hollywood,
Hollywood Marine.
right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's a constant battle between you guys about that. It's
Right?
funny. It's funny to be Air Force and sit back and listen because you get two Marines in the same room, and
Yeah,
one's East Coast and the West Coast Marine, and it's like all they can do is talk about how good or bad the other one is.
yeah, yeah. I was looking online, and I guess they're talking about making one boot camp
Hmm.
that has and integrating more of the women in with the men
Yeah,
during boot camp, and yeah, it's like they're gonna like close MCRD, and they don't know if they want to have it at Paris Islands or if they want to have some other place where they have the boot camp. Which
yeah. I would think that they would be better off to have something in the middle of the country, maybe like Texas or something like that,
right,
because I mean, the cost of living is so high in when you get out to California, when you get out to Pendleton, it's really expensive out here.
yeah,
And then you go to the East Coast, and the East Coast is hell, that place is Paris Island is that's not a good place. That's
yeah,
mosquito infested,
right. And
you know.
that's what we heard. In boot camp they give you a whole thing of oh shoot, what was it? Avon's
Salt soap?
no, not what was the name of that set? Maybe it was. I can't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but it was like, yeah, it repelled mosquitoes,
Hmm.
and when there was mosquitoes, you put it on, and yeah, but
Oh, it's kind of
oh man,
so there's this little walk down memory lane, huh?
yeah, yeah.
It's
uh,
it's actually good to talk. To me, I think it's good to talk about this kind of stuff and get a little bit of it out. I mean, it kind of helps. So, all right, well, so
okay,
I'll talk to you next week, and maybe we can get things working a little quicker.
cool. Yeah. I was looking online, and then all of a sudden you text messaged me. I was like, oh my gosh, because I feel like lost track
Late
of time.
Marine, damn
Right?
it! And that's a problem with me with my clients because it's just like, damn it, you're supposed to be here. Where are you? I mean, that's my
Yeah.
that I'm still that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know, if I'm ever late for anything, it's like I feel horrible. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
like, oh my god, I feel so stupid because I
And,
don't. You know.
and the thing is, out here, it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's really no big of a deal
yeah.
out here. It's just interesting. So anyway, all right, my friend. Tell Melissa I said thank you for letting me borrow you,
Sure.
and maybe I'll talk to you next week, and I'll send you another thing for next week. Okay.
All right. Cool. That's great.
Thanks, Wally. I appreciate it, buddy.
Sure. No problem.
All right.
You have
Bye.
have a good week.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.